First and foremost, welcome to the Africa Climate Summit,
Thank you so much.
the largest gathering, a historic gathering on climate change in Africa, unprecedented. I'd like you to start by introducing yourself, and then I'm going to ask you why you're here.
Well, my name is Romina Pourmokhtari. I'm the Minister for Climate and the Environment in Sweden. And I'm here to show appreciation and support towards the leadership that Kenya is taking in the climate matters and really making sure that Africa's voice is a strong voice in the global climate debate. It is something that I've longed for, and a lot of us are expecting to see the fantastic development here resulting in a stronger voice in the global discussions on climate matters. So I'm very happy to see that so many of my European colleagues are here as well to just show our appreciation, but also our support. How can we contribute to making sure that Africa's voice is heard?
Thank you so much, Minister. Sweden is a shining example in many aspects of the response to climate change. What is the significance of a Swedish delegation attending the Africa Climate Summit? Why has Sweden decided to participate and support this event?
Well, of course, in Sweden, we have a very big sense of global solidarity, and the humanity aspects of politics is very present in any national election. So our engagement in the world and in all parts of the world's development is very strong. And as you said yourself, Sweden is a good example of handling our emissions and lowering our emissions quite drastically. We've lowered our emissions 30% since the 70s, and that is, of course, a development we're very proud of. But it's also a consequence of us picking the low-hanging fruit. So we've had a very strong hydrogen power plants, and we have the renewables growing, and we've also had nuclear power since an early stage that has contributed a lot to our energy system being almost fully clean. And this, of course, has made it easier for us to be able to lower our emissions. And what we see a bigger potential in now, as we have come quite far in our own journey towards lowering our emissions, we're headed towards net zero emissions in 2045. What we want to do is broaden that aspect. How can we take the lessons that we have learned, not only the progress, but also the mistakes that we've made, and share those with other countries that are on the way of going through that journey themselves? And one very key aspect of this is actually the financial profits that have come of our transition. So I do not see this as two parts of development that go against each other, but economical development goes hand in hand with lowering our emissions. We've actually decoupled our emissions from our economy in Sweden. We've lowered our emissions more as we've grown our economy. And there's very many aspects to this, one of them actually being our wood industry and the mass timber industry that we have. As we've harvested the trees, we've also planted new trees, and trees capture the most carbon when they're growing. So there's a lot of lessons that we've learned in this, as we've had droughts and fires and floods and all of these types of different situations occur. We've grown our economy whilst lowering our emissions. So we've shown that it's possible, and I want to make sure that every country benefit from the same economic growth that we have done when transitioning. It should not be a lose situation when you transition. It should be a win situation, both financially and morally.
Excellent. I know, Minister, you've only been here for less than 24 hours.
Yes, unfortunately this time, yeah.
And you're probably still taking in a lot of the conference. Some of the pillars of this summit are adaptation and climate financing. In the short period that you've been here, what do you think Sweden can do to support the transition to low carbon, to greener economies for countries like Kenya, like Africa, like the continent of Africa? Maybe you can draw on some of the experiences you've seen in your travels as minister. What do you think Sweden can do to support the transition on the continent of Africa?
Well, of course, being one of the big financiers and contributors to aid is one part of it. But I think that two other aspects of how to create the development in a different part of the world is less talked about. Of course, finance is a very big part of it. You have to put your money where your mouth is. But then two other aspects is the skills sharing, actually learning and sharing different mistakes and lessons, and sharing the skills that we've gathered in all of our different countries. It would be very stupid of us when we're in such a rush to transition and to lower our emissions, to all of us sit in our own corners trying to figure out solutions to different challenges ahead. We should share our skills, and we should not be afraid to share our data, our information, our sciences, also our policies, our politics that have worked with each other. So that is also a big aspect of what Sweden does. And another part of it is our private sector. The business sector in Sweden is very present at the summit in Kenya, in Africa, and that is a big part of how we want to contribute to a sustainable development, by sharing not only the skills, the knowledge, the funding, but also the services and the products that we create in a sustainable manner. And having Swedish businesses and a high presence here is very important for us as well.
Excellent.
So there's three pillars to it.
Excellent. Final question. What is your message to citizens across this country and across this continent who are grappling with the impact of climate change? Drought, flooding, hotter temperatures, rising sea levels. What do you want to convey as the people of Sweden to the people of Africa?
Well, one thing that I think is very important is to not let that worry and that fear of the situation that we're headed towards be paralyzing. Find something concrete. It could be small, and maybe it will scale. So find something concrete, something small that can make a difference. In many of the challenges that we're facing, for example, when it comes to floods in Sweden, when we are doing the climate adaptation or adaptation, even if it sounds like a complicated word, it can be something like a natural solution that we have in our own environment. Gathering the stones from a specific area close by and placing them in a way, or moving a certain species, or having the right soil. All of these solutions are quite often closer than you'd think. So I think that trying to change that, or taking that fear and often, for my generation, anxiety, and turning it towards something practical is the absolute best thing you can do, because in Sweden we have the expression of many small rivers make into a very strong force and a very strong river. And I think that is a good way of looking at the climate crisis that we're handling. It is, of course, a challenge, but there are also great opportunities that come of it. So try to find the opportunity and take care of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the interview, great answers, and thank you for coming all this way to appear on the Africa Climate Summit show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.